The crack of ribs breaking sounds exactly like a tree branch snapping in a winter storm. Sharp, final, with an echo that seems to last forever. I know this because I heard it 3 times in rapid succession as my stepdad swung his Louisville slugger into my chest like I was a practice dummy. "Dead weight doesn't deserve to breathe," Marcus spat, stepping back to admire his handiwork as I crumpled to the basement floor, gasping for air that wouldn't come. Each breath felt like drowning in reverse, my punctured lungs struggling against the broken bones that had shifted inward like a collapsed tent. "I'm Alexis Montenegro, and I'm 19 years old. Or I was 3 hours ago, before my stepdad decided that coming home from my first semester of college made me a burden worth eliminating." My mother stood at the top of the basement stairs, counting a stack of $100 bills with the same care she used to count my birthday money when I was little. "Make it look like an accident next time," she called down casually, not even bothering to look at me writhing on the concrete floor. "The life insurance won't pay out if it's too obvious." That's when everything clicked into place. The life insurance policy they'd taken out on me 6 months ago, claiming it was for college expenses. The way Marcus had been pushing me toward dangerous activities, all semester, rock climbing, motorcycle riding, late-night walks in bad neighborhoods. The convenient accidents that had been escalating since I'd turned 18. But Marcus had made one crucial mistake. He'd used the baseball bat he'd given me for my 16th birthday, the one with my name engraved on the handle. The one that had been sitting in my bedroom for 3 years, accumulating my fingerprints, my DNA, making it look like I'd somehow beaten myself to death. Except he hadn't counted on Dr. Sarah Kim. For hours later, I lay on a gurney in Metropolitan Hospital's trauma bay, machines beeping around me like a digital orchestra. Dr. Kim stood over my x-rays, her brow furrowed in concentration that reminded me of my calculus professor working through a particularly complex equation. "Mrs. Montenegro," she said to my mother, who was dabbing at her eyes with tissues that somehow never seemed to get wet, "can you walk me through exactly how Alexis fell down these stairs?" My mother launched into her rehearsed performance. She was carrying boxes from her dorm room. So clumsy, that girl. Always has been. She tripped at the top and just tumbled all the way down. 20 steps, maybe 25. Marcus nodded gravely, his face a mask of concerned stepfatherhood. "I told her to make 2 trips, but she wanted to carry everything at once. You know how kids are." Dr. Kim pulled up another x-ray on the monitor. "The interesting thing about falling down stairs," she said, her voice taking on the measured tone of someone who'd seen too many lies, "is that it creates a very specific injury pattern. Typically, we see fractures that follow the body's natural impact points. Wrists from trying to catch yourself, hip fractures from landing, maybe a head injury from the final impact." She zoomed in on my ribcage. "But Alexis has 3 ribs broken in perfect horizontal alignment, all at the same height, all with the same degree of displacement. The fracture pattern is consistent with a single, powerful, horizontal blow." I watched my mother's face carefully. The practiced grief was still there, but underneath it, something else was growing. "Fear. What are you saying?" Marcus asked, but his voice had lost some of its earlier confidence. "I'm saying," Dr. Kim replied, calling up another image, "that these injuries weren't caused by falling downstairs. They were caused by something striking her ribs with tremendous force. Something long, round, and swung with considerable strength." She paused, letting that sink in. Something like a baseball bat. The silence in that trauma room was deafening. I could hear my mother's breathing becoming shallow, could see Marcus's hands clenching and unclenching at his sides. "That's ridiculous," my mother finally said. "Who would do such a thing? Alexis doesn't have any enemies. She's just a college student." "Alexis," Dr. Kim said, turning to me directly for the first time, "I need you to tell me what really happened. And I need you to know that whatever you say, you're safe here." For a moment, I couldn't speak. 3 years of conditioning, of being told that family loyalty was everything, of watching Marcus's explosive temper destroy everything in its path, had trained me to stay quiet. But lying there, feeling my broken ribs shift with each shallow breath, something inside me finally broke too. "He hit me with a baseball bat," I whispered. My mother's tissue dabbing stopped abruptly. "Alexis, honey, you're confused. The pain medication. He hit me with the bat he gave me for my 16th birthday." I continued, my voice getting stronger. "The one with my name on it. He said dead weight doesn't deserve to breathe." Dr. Kim was already reaching for her phone. "I need security up here immediately. And call the police." That's when Marcus made his second mistake. Instead of continuing the concerned stepfather act, his mask slipped completely. "You ungrateful little bitch," he snarled, stepping toward my gurney. "After everything I've done for your family, everything I've provided. Your mother was nothing before I came along, and you're less than nothing." Dr. Kim stepped between him and my bed. "Sir, I need you to step back. Now." "She's lying," my mother said, but her voice was shaking. "Marcus would never hurt anyone. He's a good man. A provider. A provider who took out a life insurance policy on my stepdaughter?" Dr. Kim asked quietly. My mother went completely white. "How did you?" "Hospital policy requires us to check insurance information for major traumas." Imagine my surprise when I discovered that Alexis has been the beneficiary of a $500,000 life insurance policy for exactly 6 months. The door burst open and 2 security guards entered, followed closely by Detective Martinez. She was a compact woman with steel-gray hair and eyes that looked like they'd seen everything twice. "Dr. Kim called in a suspected assault," she said, scanning the room. "Which one of you is Marcus Montenegro?" Marcus tried to straighten up, to recapture some of his earlier authority. "I'm her stepfather. This is all a misunderstanding. The girl is confused from her fall." Detective Martinez pulled out a tablet and began typing. "Fall, huh? Tell me about this fall." As my mother and Marcus repeated their practice story, I watched Detective Martinez's expression grow more skeptical. When they finished, she looked up from her notes. "Funny thing about falls," she said. "They leave evidence. Scuff marks on walls, broken banister railings, maybe some blood spatter patterns. Did the crime scene team find any of that evidence at your house?" Marcus and my mother exchanged glances. They hadn't expected anyone to actually investigate the scene. We cleaned up," my mother stammered. "Before we brought her to the hospital. We didn't want to leave a mess." "You cleaned up a crime scene?" Detective Martinez asked, her eyebrows raising. "Before calling paramedics? That's interesting." Dr. Kim cleared her throat. "Detective, there's something else you should see." She pulled up a different X-ray on the monitor. "These are Alexis's ribs from 18 months ago, when she was treated for what was reported as a skateboarding accident. The image showed healed fractures in almost the same location as my current injuries. And here," Dr. Kim continued, pulling up another file, "are her X-rays from 2 years ago. Emergency room visit for what was reported as a bicycle accident. The pattern was unmistakable. 3 separate incidents, all targeting the same area of my body, all with explanations that didn't quite match the injury patterns." "Jesus," Detective Martinez breathed. "How many times has he done this to you?" I looked at Marcus, who was staring at the X-rays like they were his death sentence. For the first time in 3 years, he looked small, powerless. "Every time I did something that made him feel inferior," I said. "When I made honor roll and his son flunked out of community college. When I got accepted to state university and he couldn't afford to send his own kid to trade school. When I came home with my report card showing a 4.0 GPA. "You're lying," my mother said, but there was no conviction in her voice anymore. "Marcus loves you like his own daughter. Loves me enough to take out a life insurance policy and practice killing me?" I asked. "Loves me enough to count money while I'm dying on the basement floor?" Detective Martinez was taking notes rapidly. "You heard them talking about life insurance?" She was counting money. "Cash. He said to make it look like an accident next time, and she said the life insurance wouldn't pay out if it was too obvious." The room went silent except for the steady beeping of my monitors. Detective Martinez closed her tablet and looked at Marcus with the expression of someone who'd just stepped in something disgusting. "Marcus Montenegro, you're under arrest for aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, conspiracy to commit murder, and insurance fraud. You have the right to remain silent." As the handcuffs clicked around his wrists, Marcus looked at me with pure hatred. "You have no idea what you've just done to this family. No idea what you've destroyed." "I know exactly what I've destroyed," I said, feeling stronger with every word. "I've destroyed your plan to kill me." My mother was arrested 20 minutes later, charged with conspiracy and child endangerment. As they led her away, she turned back to me with tears that actually looked real for the first time in years. "I never wanted it to go this far," she said. We needed the money, Alexis. You have to understand." "I understand perfectly," I replied. "You needed money more than you needed a living daughter." The trial lasted 3 months. The prosecution built their case around the medical evidence, the life insurance policy, and recordings from Marcus's phone that showed him researching accident staging and undetectable murder methods. But the most damning evidence came from Marcus himself. Apparently, he'd been so confident in his plan that he'd actually filmed some of his practice sessions with the baseball bat, using a mannequin to perfect his technique. The videos were found on his phone, complete with audio commentary about the best angles for maximum damage with minimum external trauma. Marcus received 25 years for attempted murder. My mother got 8 years for conspiracy. The judge's closing statement stayed with me. The betrayal of parental trust represents one of society's most heinous crimes. When those charged with protecting our children become their predators, justice must be swift and severe. 6 months after the trial, I stood in my new apartment near campus, holding a letter from the State University Scholarship Committee. Full ride, plus a stipend for living expenses. Turns out that surviving multiple murder attempts while maintaining a 4.0 GPA made for a pretty compelling scholarship application. Dr. Kim had become more than my doctor. She'd become my advocate and eventually a friend. She'd connected me with other survivors, helped me find therapy, and even wrote a recommendation letter for my pre-med applications. You know what's remarkable? She said during one of my follow-up appointments. Most people who survive what you survived develop chronic pain issues, PTSD, long-term health problems. But your recovery has been extraordinary. I touched my ribs gently, feeling the places where the bones had healed stronger than before. Maybe surviving murder attempts is like surviving anything else. It either breaks you or makes you stronger. And which are you? I thought about Marcus, probably sitting in his cell right now, still believing that I was worthless dead weight. I thought about my mother, who'd chosen money over her daughter's life. And then I thought about the future I was building, the medical career ahead of me, the other survivors I was already helping through support groups. I'm stronger, I said. Strong enough to make sure this never happens to anyone else. That night, I started a blog called Dead Weight Rising. It was for survivors of family violence, people who'd been told they were worthless by the very people who should have protected them. Within 6 months, it had thousands of followers and was generating enough ad revenue to fund a nonprofit organization. The first case we took on was a 15-year-old girl whose father had been poisoning her food because he wanted her trust fund. The second was a boy whose stepmother had been staging accidents to collect on his disability insurance. Marcus had been right about one thing. I was dead weight to him. Dead weight that had refused to stay down, refused to disappear quietly, refused to make his path to my life insurance money an easy one. But what he'd never understood was that sometimes dead weight is exactly what you need to break down the doors that people try to keep closed. Sometimes the thing they dismiss as worthless is the very thing that brings their whole world crashing down. I kept that baseball bat. The one with my name on it. The one that had nearly killed me. It sits in my office now, not as a weapon, but as a reminder. A reminder that I survived. A reminder that I fought back. And a reminder that sometimes the very thing someone uses to try to destroy you becomes the foundation for everything you build afterward. Marcus thought dead weight doesn't deserve to breathe. He was wrong. Dead weight deserves to breathe, to thrive, to lift up other people who've been told they're worthless. And sometimes dead weight grows up to become the very thing that destroys the people who tried to bury it.